What's up?
ElkShape YouTube channel. So today we're going to cover one of those questions I get a lot. And I like making videos like this because I'm going to get this question in the future. And I just have to paste the link to this video. We're covering stabilizers. There's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of questions as to why is my stabilizer this long, this short, offset, sidebar. We're going to cover all that and more. All right, Josh, so we get this question all the time, like, how do you know what stabilizers, what's the point of stabilizers? Obviously, there's some nuance there. I know that I tinker to death with mine, but I want to hear your take on stabilizers and best practices.
Well, there's a lot of different ideas and ideologies out there. You'll see a lot of different stuff. You'll see front stabilizers, rear stabilizers, long rods, short rods, heavy, light, etc. The whole purpose of a stabilizer, regardless of what anyone else has to say about it, honestly, is try to get weight away from your hand. So the purpose is to take something like that and have this be really light and this be heavy. So the whole thing doesn't weigh that much, but it feels really heavy. It's the same concept of if you got like a 2x2 that's 2 feet long or a 2x4 that's 1 foot long. Grab it by the end and hold it out in front of you. Which one feels heavier? They weigh exactly the same. But the 2x2 is going to feel about 3 times as heavy because you move the weight twice as far away.
Physics.
So the whole purpose of this, that's why this is a lightweight carbon rod, lightweight carbon rod, lightweight carbon rod, and then some steel or aluminum depending on who's and what's and why's to get the weight away from your hand. In my opinion, I want it as far away from me as humanly possible without feeling like it's incredibly awkward, which is why my bow example here has about a 15-inch stabilizer on it, which to most people,
that's pretty long, Josh.
Well, they would think it's crazy, but if you load this bow and put an arrow in it, it's sticking out farther than my stabilizer. And when I'm carrying my bow around, I stick it in my armpit. So it's not like it's awkward by any means. So It's more a matter of being prepared to carry it how you want to carry it. A lot of guys are using sidebars or side weight. And the purpose and the reason for that is a very simple one. You try to hold this bow up, it feels relatively level. Take this off, it sits like that now. It's literally not any more complicated than that. That is the reason, and that is the purpose, is to try to get your bow to ride level while you're pointing it. You'll see a lot more elaborate stuff for moving the bar over and excessive amounts of it in target archery that have different purposes other than that. Right. But in hunting, you're trying to stand on an uneven terrain, uphill, downhill, side hill, and draw your bow back and have it be relatively level instead of sitting there moving it back and forth trying to get it level. That's the whole purpose. So, I mean, there's a couple different ways you can go, but to me, as far away from your hand as you can comfortably feel like you can carry around the woods, and as light as possible with as much weight out front to make it more effective.
I've always tried to copy as many pages of a playbook from a target archer. I feel like whatever I can mimic that those guys are doing, within reason, the better I'm going to be in the field. I want to go through kind of just this one real quick. We grab that one.
Yeah.
So this is from Titanium Archery Products, is the stabilizer manufacturer here. I bought this from Josh. This is a 10-degree step down, and I've liked it. It's made my sight kind of go more like this versus your typical figure 8, which I remember the day you told me that. I had never heard that, and then I went and tested it. It's certainly true, and I would suggest anyone willing to take a gamble, go ahead and tinker with that. It's pretty awesome. I have a back bar here. It has no extension. It's not angled out. It's really streamlined, and that's the whole premise of this 27 is I kind of want a nice, sleek, streamlined design.
That's the Matthews static sidebar.
Yep.
I think they're like $30 or something, somewhere around there. It just doesn't adjust, so it's very economical. It's an easy, affordable way for a Matthews guy to bolt a rear bar on without having to spend a whole bunch of money like some of the other adjustable bars are.
We just throw it in the back of the riser here, and then I got 4 ounces back here. Again, Titanium Archery Products and a mount from Matthews. Now on my 31, this is Timmy's. By the way, Tim, welcome to Matthews. And I wanted to, if you ever did see that video, I'm going to put a link right here. Watch it. It's got a lot of comments. And I was out of town, and I don't like to comment on YouTube. But if I did, some of the people were saying like, oh, how come you guys did, like it was a flagship bow and Tim didn't shoot a Darton or a Martin or a Expedition, a PSE. And some of those bows, I can't believe you even thought that those were flagships. They're not. And then some of those other manufacturers, yeah, hold on, they haven't even shipped those in yet.
Yeah, I was going to tad on that, just that what we tried to shoot with Tim was the most popular bows in this area.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean nationally, that just means in this area. And the one bow that was missing from that was probably the PSE Evo.
Oh, yeah.
They hadn't shipped one yet, so we didn't have one to compare. But outside of that, some of the other ones we just...
Why didn't you have Darton and Martin and Expedition?
Well,
and
it's hard to have products comparable that nobody even asks me for. So, and I'm not trying to be insulting. In certain parts of the world, they're more popular and less popular.
I know.
It's if I don't get 30 people a year asking me for a bow, probably don't carry it.
Exactly. So anyways, guys, sorry to side tangent, but I thought it was our chance to clap back, but didn't. All kidding aside, we love you guys and appreciate you coming back to the channel. So this is my 31. I'm running Matthews flatline stabilizer, 10-inch. What I got, an extra ounce there.
Yeah.
And then I got an 8-inch with 4 ounces back here. And then I'm using, this is also from Titanium Archery product, and it's just a kick out where I can kind of manipulate the angle. I forget the name of it, but basically I can manipulate this angle however I want, up, down, out, whatever. And I just kind of keep tinkering and find the sweet spot to offset the quiver on the other side until when I pull back on level ground, the bubble's level and I can hold as stable as possible. That's really what I'm after. And then we got Tim set up.
All right, guys, so my Matthews V331 is set up right now. I'm still definitely tinkering with the stabilizers, but all I'm really trying to do is when I hold the bow out, I want it to hold as steady as possible. That's side to side and then up and down as well. So this I'm actually gonna kick out a little more to the side. Josh's other archery tech asked me, well, why are you gonna do that? And I said, because I'm trying to get my bubble to level, and he was trying to check me. He's like, it's making sure I know what I'm doing. But we just wanna get the bubble to hang level, and I'm happy with these so far. I'm just playing with the weights. I think I have 4 or 5 ounces in the back. I might even add weight to that. 3 ounces in the front, 4 in the back. I'm pretty happy with how it's holding, but this is like a work in process. We're trying to get this baby ready for bear season. I know for sure this is gonna kick out a little bit, but this is where like bow hunting is subjective. You gotta figure out what's gonna balance your bow for you, and that's what we're in the pursuit of right now. Unfortunately, we have MFJJ to kind of guide us through that process.
Josh, what about when like maybe you're shooting groups out to, let's say 50 yards, that's kind of a nice distance, and you notice that you're kind of hitting just a little high, you can actually do some manipulation with your stabilizers to help that, right?
Well, yeah, if you move weight from the front to the rear, it'll make your bow want to point up a little more. If you move weight from the rear to the front, it'll make it want to go down a little more. So if you're struggling with one particular way or another, that's something you can do with. Same with left to rights. If you're constantly leaning to the right, move the rod out a little bit. If you're constantly leaning to the left, move it in a little bit. It'll help correct those things. A good starting point when you're first setting one up, especially if it's a target setup, not a hunting setup, you'd have 3 times as much weight in the rear as you would the front to start, and then play with it from there on how it tends to balance out. If you're gonna run similar length bars like is on the hunting bows, I'd probably put 2 times and 3 times. So if you put 2 ounces in the front, put 3 ounces in the back. If you have 4 ounces in the front, put 6 ounces in the back to start. Feel free to move it to where it feels best for you, because with any of this stuff, it's what feels best for you. My way isn't always exactly right. It's what tends to be right more often than not, and what's more common. There's no right or wrong way as long as you can hold steady 100%, but that's a good way to start.
Let's show us, you got some gadgets.
So I'm a little different. I try to minimize the amount of weight on my bow for a hunting setup, because at the end of the day, I typically am just trying to make it balance out, and I would rather carry around 1 rod instead of 2. So what I use is an offset bar. It mounts in the same spot your stabilizer would mount, and then it just moves your 1 rod over to the left about 1 inch or so, and that tends to balance out pretty good. I don't have rear weight and I don't have offsetting weight, but I'll use a tight spot quiver and run it a little tighter to my bow, and my bow balances out really good to where I don't have to manipulate left to right. It's not as tinkery, but for my hunting stuff, I'm usually not being quite as tinkery as I would a target setup, and the simplicity of it to me is better. So that's what I like to run, but that's just
hold on, I'm seeing extra weights on your bow and stuff. What is that stuff down there?
Well, I was trying to make the bow a little heavier overall in centralized to the bow itself. So my weight down here, which is a lot, it stabilized the bottom end from moving around a little bit. So I'm still lower profile, I'm still tighter into the bow without having to have extra stuff sticking out.
I like that.
But it's a little more weight. But this bow doesn't get packed a long distance.
Sure.
I have a lighter setup that if I'm gonna pack a long ways, I would typically use. But that's just another little weight I threw on there to slow it down a little in the bottom end of the movement. So it's acting kind of like that is without having to stick it away from the bow.
I feel you.
Because my stabilizer's already open. Yeah, principles of overall stability. I mean, it's not super rocket science. The heavier a bow is, the steadier it's gonna be, but the more you have to carry. So depending on what you're doing with it, you may not want it to be super heavy because you got to carry it around. You're packing it around 10, 15 miles a day. And once again, the longer your stabilizer is, the farther you get that weight away from your hand, front or rear, the more of an effect it has. I find I can go from like an 8-inch stabilizer to a 12-inch stabilizer and take an ounce of overall weight off the front, and it still feels about the same.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to lighten it up, lengthen the rods and take some weight out of the front, and you'll still feel about the same, but your overall setup weighs a little less.
Yeah.
So it's all in what you're trying to achieve. If you're just going from tree stands and ground blinds, 300-yard hike, make that thing heavy, because heavy is accurate, period.
It's kind of like a rifle guy, like the match shooters, they shoot those 16, 18 pound rifles. They don't hunt with, you can't hunt with that heavy rifle in some states.
You won't find a single guy shooting indoor target archery with a bow that doesn't weigh at least 8.5, 9 pounds.
Yeah.
It's heavy for a reason. Heavy's accurate. It's hard to get your pin onto the target with a heavier bow, but it's harder to pull it away from the target once you get there with a heavier bow. It slows everything down. So heavy is good as long as you're not carrying it 10, 15 miles. Heavy's cool.
Guys, thank you so much.
Hey.
I can't even get a video done here.
Oh, dude.
ABT,
Murder.
always be tinkering. Stabilizers, just they line up with that tinkering lifestyle. So figure out what's gonna work best for you. Take what we've said here and figure out what's gonna be your story, your setup. Appreciate you guys. Tap the bell. Give us a thumbs up if you're into tinkering, and we'll catch you on the next one.